I'll speak first. My name is Oonagh Doherty. I might sound a little angry or emotional as I talk about some of these cases, and I apologize if that's not appropriate, but I really am angry on behalf of these kids and these moms and what's been happening to them. I'm an attorney by profession, and I have met many homeless families, and I'm deeply concerned about what has happened to them over the last couple of months since the changes in the DHCD regulations. The current regulations and the way they're being implemented put homeless children in serious danger. Under current DHCD regulations, for many families, there is a requirement that they have to sleep in a place not meant for human habitation before they could get into shelter. I'd like to say that again slowly. Children and their homeless children and their parents are required under the current regulations, many of them, to sleep in a place not meant for human habitation. That's the regulations now. That's a prerequisite. You might want to know how that's working out on a practical level. You did hear from Myra Rivera from the Holyoke Health Center in one case she saw. Well, last week I met a woman who has a gravely ill toddler. The family had been denied shelter, although the mother and baby were sleeping on the living room floor of an unheated apartment. The already chronically ill child contracted a respiratory virus and had to be taken to the hospital in an ambulance. Consider how much that is costing the Commonwealth in terms of health care. I have spoken personally to 2 EA applicant families who were turned away by DHCD although they had already slept in cars. I spoke to a family with an infant who was turned away by DHCD although the family had already slept outdoors. I spoke to one mother with a baby who was turned away by DHCD although she was homeless due to being the victim of domestic violence-related felonies, and she brought to DHCD proof, police report, a letter from the victim witness advocate saying she was not safe and needed to be sheltered, and still she was turned away. Each of these families is now placed in shelter, but it was not easy, and it took advocacy. Before they got into shelter, these mothers, children, and babies were at grave risk of physical harm or actually came to harm. This is a system in crisis and the greatest number of victims are children. I'd like to address what I consider to be, maybe this is harsh, a bit of theater on the part of HAP when the 5 employees stood up and said that they would help people find temporary placement. That program is funded through November 30th only. And they're not available, and it just started about a week ago. Maybe just in time for this, I don't know.
Right.
The theory behind Housing First is that homeless families should be placed in apartments, not hotels or shelters, and I support that theory. But what we're seeing in Massachusetts is not Housing First. Housing First provides homes instead of shelter. But under these rules and the way they're being applied, families who are in the street, or en la calle as they say in Spanish, are being denied any safe refuge. They aren't being provided with homes. And so in this context, Housing First just becomes a happy spin on a system which is giving less and less to homeless mothers and children. DHCD, I'm begging you, I'm sure you don't really want this to continue. You need to take care of the most vulnerable families. It's getting cold. In a few weeks' time, people can't even sleep in their cars. So amend the regulations so that families are eligible for shelter before they end up in the street. In Massachusetts, kids should not have to sleep in cars, emergency rooms, and porches. Thank you.